I don't think anyone is going to argue that when you're talking about a geriatric patient, maintaining protein intake is important, but I also want to acknowledge that I think there's been an obsession with protein intake in this country that I do disagree with personally. But with your patients, are you saying, hey, don't worry too much about processed meats either because at least we're getting the protein?
Well, with my personal patients, I prefer whole foods. Red meat, whole foods, not particularly processed foods in general. But what the study is saying is that there's no need to change what we are currently doing. It's not advocating for protein, but it's also not saying that we need to cut back on our protein.
Dr. Kahn, you've heard Dr. Lyon, and I know that you're a vegan. What do you say in response to that, and what are your thoughts on this study that came out?
Number one, the fact is clear. I can speak to my own life of 42 years of never touching a piece of meat. It is sustainable and, if not optimal. If we travel to the blue zones, 5 areas where people live 10 times more frequently over the age of 100 than the average United States resident, we know it's called plant slant, that 80% or more of their calories are coming from plants, to as little as 1% in Okinawa, where they have 1 piece of red meat a month on average, when it was the authentic longevity zone. And of course, we have the data that the only way to prevent and reverse cardiovascular disease, in this study, 14% drop in heart deaths if you reduce your red meat, would be 300 Americans a day that don't die by reducing the red meat. And I feel like Dr. Katz, my moral obligation is to teach my patients until there's other data. 300 people a day matters, life matters. So between the blue zones, between the Mediterranean diet, which teaches reduced red meat, I mean, not everybody has to join my club of no meat at all, but the message is clear that there isn't confusion. The lead author of this study, Gordon Guyette, said, we're so confused, I can't tell you if you should eat a bowl of sugar or a bowl of salad. And I say, BS, we know the difference. Eat a bowl of salad and push the sugar aside. We're not that confused.
So Travis, I am a research scientist. I have published randomized controlled trials. I have published meta-analyses. I have published systematic reviews in textbooks. And as such, I can tell you, we have no randomized trials telling parents that it's unsafe for their kids to run with scissors. We have no randomized trials telling us we should look both ways before we cross the street. We have no randomized trials telling us that carbon monoxide is dangerous. If I issue guidelines telling you, don't worry about carbon monoxide, dash out into traffic and let your kids run with scissors because the evidence is weak, are you going to listen to me? Or are you going to say, actually, I think sense sometimes counts along with science, and that sounds like silly advice?
I think that makes it confusing for the public. That makes it confusing for the public. There are randomized controlled trials to support protein in the diet. The DASH diet is 20% protein. The Mediterranean diet is around 20% protein. Beef is a healthy protein source. It is healthy, B12, zinc, selenium, high quality protein source. If we further reduce protein and red meat consumption, we've already tried a plant-based diet. So we tried a plant-based diet, and that was the food guide pyramid. So we recommended people eat less fat and more carbs. And obesity rates doubled. Red meat consumption is down 30% since the 1970s. So it's less. We're not eating more.
It's actually, and in fairness to challenge you, we don't have a protein problem in this country. It's fiber. And I mean, that's the reality is we switch to foods that are highly processed without fiber in it. And I think that so few people are getting adequate fiber. And that's where I worry. If we don't balance our meat protein with plant protein, where you do get that good fiber, that's where people run into trouble. Now, who are your patients? And are they, I mean, your practice is very different than a normal doctor. Would you acknowledge that?
It's true. But my patients do come to me for optimizing body composition.
But most people in this country, my patients aren't coming in saying, I'm trying to optimize my body composition. They're trying to deal with diabetes, heart disease, morbid obesity.
Yeah.
And they're saying, how can I change my diet? And the answer is not, hey, eat more processed meat.
I totally agree with you. You have to manage your calorie intake, and you should manage your carbohydrate intake.
And maybe minimize processed foods. I think that's something everybody agrees
we can all
with
agree on
this
that.
panel.
But
sure.
And also getting an optimal protein diet that is healthy in someone's nutrition. It's so important. You cannot make meat the bad guy. It's like, it just doesn't make sense.